In the hushed reverence of Arlington Cemetery, Admiral Amelia Whitford, a woman forged in the crucible of naval command, sought solace at her daughter's grave. She expected only the whisper of wind through the solemn rows of headstones. Instead, she discovered a cemetery custodian kneeling beside Sarah's resting place, cradling an infant, a baby with eyes that echoed her daughter's very soul. The encounter would become the catalyst for unraveling long-held secrets, bridging chasms of regret, and forging a family from the raw materials of loss, enduring love, and the profound grace of second chances. Before we delve into this deeply moving saga, we invite you to join us. If stories of heartfelt healing and emotional resonance touch your spirit, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Ensure you never miss the unfolding chapters of hope. The late afternoon sky, a somber tapestry of muted grays, hung low over Arlington, mirroring the quiet dignity of the endless rows of white and slate. Admiral Whitford emerged from her vehicle with the same precise movements that defined her nearly 4 decades of naval service. Her posture was ramrod straight, her uniform impeccable, her medals gleaming with hard-won honor. Yet, even these carefully constructed defenses could not shield her from the deep ache that constricted her chest. In her hand, she carried a small bouquet of white naval lilies, the very flowers Sarah, as a little girl, would weave into her hair. It was the anniversary, the day Amelia's world had fractured irrevocably. She walked the familiar path between the gravestones, her polished boots brushing softly against the meticulously trimmed grass. It was a pilgrimage she made every year, never deviating from the precise hour. Structure, regimentation, these were the anchors that allowed her to navigate the unfixable. But today, a disquieting feeling stirred within her even before she reached the grave. She slowed, noticing an anomaly. Not the gentle dance of leaves in the breeze, not another family paying their respects. A figure, a man, clad in the worn utilitarian green of a maintenance worker. His shoulders were hunched, his head bowed in what appeared to be profound sorrow, and in his arms he cradled a child, an infant of perhaps 6 or 7 months, held close to his chest. Amelia faltered. He wasn't merely near Sarah's grave. He was kneeling directly at it. Her breath caught in her throat. This cemetery was sacred ground to her, and this particular plot held an even deeper significance. No one ever approached Sarah's headstone, save for the groundskeepers who tended the grass each week. Yet here was a stranger, his large frame bowed in grief, his hand covering his eyes as if trying to contain an anguish too raw to bear. The baby whimpered softly, and the man drew her closer, whispering words Amelia couldn't discern. A ripple of unease coursed through her. Who was this man? Why was he here at Sarah's grave with a child? Amelia tightened her grip on the bouquet and forced herself forward. Years of command urged her to confront him with calm, rational authority. But the mother within her, a part of herself she rarely allowed to surface, braced for the unknown. As she drew within speaking distance, her voice emerged steady, though her heart hammered against her ribs. "Excuse me," she said quietly. "This area is private." The man startled, his head snapping up, revealing eyes etched with fatigue, a rough, untamed beard, and hair that looked as if it had been styled by his fingers rather than a comb. His uniform, indeed that of a janitor, bore patches of wear. He instinctively shifted the baby in his arms, as if shielding her from some unseen threat. "I'm sorry," he murmured, his voice a low, husky rumble that spoke of both humility and deep-seated burdens. "I didn't mean to intrude." Amelia's gaze moved from the man to the child, and then, everything within her stilled. Those eyes. The baby possessed Sarah's eyes, the same amber brown, flecked with the warm gold that used to dance when Sarah laughed. Eyes that held a gentle spirit, even when her daughter was angry. Eyes Amelia hadn't looked into for far too many years, not since Sarah's passing. Her throat constricted painfully. The baby blinked up at her, curious and serene, as if recognizing something familiar in Amelia. The Admiral recoiled, a subconscious step backward. Who is she?" The man swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. Her name is Lily, Lily, a name that bloomed with innocence, yet the moment felt anything but light. What are you doing here? Amelia asked, the question sharp, yet her voice trembled on the edges. She was unaccustomed to uncertainty, unfamiliar with feeling so profoundly shaken. The man rose slowly, carefully mindful not to disturb the child nestled against his chest. I know I shouldn't be here during visiting hours, but today felt important. I just needed to come. He hesitated, his eyes flicking to the gravestone, as if drawn to it by an invisible force. I didn't expect anyone else would be visiting at this hour. Amelia's pulse thundered in her ears. This is my daughter's grave. His breath caught a visible sharp intake. His arms tightened instinctively around the baby. I know, he whispered. The wind shifted, stirring the leaves across the path and carrying the faint, melancholic scent of cut grass. Amelia felt a sudden chill. The man's reaction wasn't one of confusion. It was recognition. He knew Sarah's name. He knew whose grave he knelt beside. He knew. And yet, he had come anyway. Who are you? Amelia demanded, the question not laced with authority this time, but with something far more fragile, vulnerability. The man opened his mouth, then closed it, as if struggling to find the right words. My name is Liam. She waited, but he offered nothing more. The baby possessed Sarah's eyes, the same amber brown, flecked with the warm gold that used to dance when Sarah laughed. Eyes that held a gentle spirit, even when her daughter was angry. Eyes Amelia hadn't looked into for far too many years, not since Sarah's passing. Her throat constricted painfully. The baby blinked up at her, curious and serene, as if recognizing something familiar in Amelia. The Admiral recoiled, a subconscious step backward. Who is she? The man swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. Her name is Lily, Lily, a name that bloomed with innocence, yet the moment felt anything but light. What are you doing here? Amelia asked, the question sharp, yet her voice trembled on the edges. She was unaccustomed to uncertainty, unfamiliar with feeling so profoundly shaken. The man rose slowly, carefully mindful not to disturb the child nestled against his chest. I know I shouldn't be here during visiting hours, but today felt important. I just needed to come. He hesitated, his eyes flicking to the gravestone, as if drawn to it by an invisible force. I didn't expect anyone else would be visiting at this hour. Amelia's pulse thundered in her ears. This is my daughter's grave. His breath caught a visible sharp intake. His arms tightened instinctively around the baby. I know, he whispered. The wind shifted, stirring the leaves across the path and carrying the faint, melancholic scent of cut grass. Amelia felt a sudden chill. The man's reaction wasn't one of confusion. It was recognition. He knew Sarah's name. He knew whose grave he knelt beside. He knew. And yet, he had come anyway. Who are you? Amelia demanded, the question not laced with authority this time, but with something far more fragile, vulnerability. The man opened his mouth, then closed it, as if struggling to find the right words. My name is Liam. She waited, but he offered nothing more. His eyes lowered, as if he feared the emotions he might see reflected on her face, or dreaded the truth he was forced to carry. Amelia's gaze swept over him. His trembling hand, the protective way he positioned himself between her and the child, the quiet storm brewing in his eyes. This was not a man who had stumbled upon the grave by mistake. This was a man burdened by a grief that was not his own. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. Why were you crying here? Why at her grave? Liam inhaled shakily. Because I owed Sarah more than silence, more than distance. And he looked down at the baby, because Lily deserves to know who her mother was. Amelia felt her heart stop, the world around her, the gravestones, the wind, the sky, dissolving into a blur of static. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stand tall. What did you just say? Liam finally met her gaze fully, his eyes rimmed with red and filled with equal parts guilt and devotion. I shouldn't say more. Not yet, he said, his voice breaking. But please, believe me, I never meant to hurt anyone. Least of all you. He shifted Lily again, and her small fingers curled into the fabric of his shirt. The child's amber eyes blinked up at Amelia, soft and impossibly familiar. A tremor ran down Amelia's spine. Something was wrong. Something was missing. Something had been kept from her for far too long. She took an unsteady step closer. Liam. Her voice cracked despite her best efforts at control. Why does that child look exactly like my daughter? Liam closed his eyes, and for a long, breathless moment, the cemetery stood silent, every answer hovering just beyond their grasp. The silence between them stretched like a taut wire, thin, trembling, ready to snap with the slightest pull. Admiral Amelia Whitford had faced down hostile interrogations in secure rooms, weathered brutal storms at sea, and navigated crises that would have shattered lesser officers. Yet nothing in her long military career had prepared her for the quiet dread that now coiled beneath her ribs. The baby, Lily, shifted in Liam's arms. Her tiny hand reached upward, brushing the fabric of his collar before pausing midair as her gaze locked onto Amelia once more. Those amber eyes, gentle, warm, familiar in a way that both pierced and soothed. Sarah's eyes. It was impossible, yet undeniable. Amelia forced herself to breathe, though each inhale felt like shards of paper scraping her throat. She steadied her voice. Liam, I'm going to ask you again. Why does that child resemble my daughter? Liam didn't answer immediately, his jaw tightening not in defiance, but in anguish. He rocked Lily gently, as if to shield her from the weight of his silence. I wasn't sure when, or if, I'd ever have the courage to come here, he said finally. But Lily deserves the truth, even if I failed to bring it to her sooner. Amelia stepped closer, unconsciously lowering her posture as she approached the child. The ribbons on her pristine white uniform rustled softly in the wind. If this involves Sarah, she said, her tone slipping into something dangerously close to pleading, I need to know. Lily blinked, then let out a soft coo, a tiny melodic sound that sliced Amelia open from the inside. She hadn't heard a baby coo in years, not since Sarah was a toddler, long before the wedge of ambition and regret had grown between them. Liam's breath shook. She looks like Sarah because she's family. The words hit Amelia like the recoil from a rifle. Family? She echoed, barely audible. Liam nodded slowly, grief rippling through his features. Sarah wasn't alone before she passed. She had someone she loved, someone who loved her. A tremor spread across Amelia's hands. She gripped the stem of the bouquet hard enough to feel it bend. Her daughter had loved and been loved. She had built a life Amelia never knew. Her voice cracked. Who? Liam exhaled shakily, an exhale that carried years of unspoken burden. Lucas Hale. The name registered as nothing. Not yet. He was a young corporal, Liam continued softly, one of the soldiers under my command during Operation Silent Reef. Sarah and Lucas met by chance during a stateside shore leave. They kept their relationship quiet because he looked away, his jaw tightening, because Sarah was afraid you wouldn't approve. The cemetery seemed to tilt for a moment. Amelia felt the ground sway beneath her boots, because she wouldn't approve, because her daughter had believed that she swallowed the ache, but it remained lodged in her chest like shrapnel. Sarah was engaged, Liam said. Not officially, but they had decided to build a life together once she finished school and he returned from deployment. Engaged. A life together. The words washed over Amelia, not as a comforting joy, but as a frigid wave that drowned, pushing her deeper into the cold realization that she had known so little about her own child's heart. Her voice became a whisper. Why didn't she tell me? Liam hesitated. Sarah wanted to. Lucas begged her to, but she was afraid. She respected you. She admired you, but she never felt she could live up to your expectations. It was a knife to the sternum, swift, precise, lethal. Amelia knew she had been distant, consumed by the Navy, consumed by missions, medals, and discipline. But hearing it spoken aloud by a stranger holding a child with Sarah's eyes made the truth unbearably sharp. Her breath trembled. What does this have to do with that baby? Liam's eyes glistened with unshed tears. He looked at Lily, brushing a thumb across her tiny cheek. Everything. He took another breath, each word seemingly breaking him open a little more. Sarah was pregnant. She didn't know until Lucas was already deployed overseas. She tried to contact him, but communication was restricted during Silent Reef. And then, he closed his eyes, steadying himself. Lucas never came home. Amelia pressed a hand to her chest, not because she felt physically weak, but because it felt as though her heart had folded inward upon itself. I held him when he died, Liam whispered. He was injured during the final phase of the operation. Before he passed, he gave me two things. A small box he'd meant for Sarah, and his final request. Amelia's voice was barely audible, which was to find her. The wind stilled. He made me promise, Liam continued, his voice steady but faint, to finish the story he would never get to write, to tell Sarah he loved her, to tell her she wasn't alone, to be there if she needed anything. Amelia stared at him, stunned into silence. But by the time I returned stateside and found the address he'd written, it was already too late. Sarah had, his voice cracked. Amelia finished the sentence for him, a whisper of pure grief. She had passed. He nodded, unable to speak. Her legs felt weak, but she held herself upright. Because that's what a Whitford did. Because collapsing now would mean admitting she'd lost more than she ever realized. And Lily? She asked, her voice barely holding steady. Lily, Liam said, brushing a strand of hair gently from the baby's forehead, is Lucas and Sarah's daughter, your granddaughter. The world narrowed into a single point of sound, the soft, frantic beating of her own pulse echoing in her ears. Granddaughter, the child with Sarah's eyes, the baby cooing in the arms of a janitor standing at her daughter's grave, the life that had sprung from the life she'd lost. Amelia staggered, not physically, but spiritually. A lifetime of rigid discipline began to crack under the crushing weight of this impossible truth. She looked at Lily again, really looked at her. The tiny fingers curled into Liam's shirt, the round cheeks, the soft breath, the pure innocence of a soul who had no idea how much history lived inside her. A tear escaped Amelia, tracing a path down her weathered cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Why didn't anyone tell me? She whispered, the question raw with pain. Liam's voice broke completely. Because Sarah never sent the letter. A chill rippled through Amelia. What letter? She wrote it to you, Liam said softly before she died. I've carried it for months. I couldn't bring myself to deliver it until today. He reached into his jacket pocket with a trembling hand and produced a folded, weathered envelope. Admiral Whitford, he whispered, offering it to her. This was her last message to you. The moment hung suspended in the quiet cemetery. The air fragile, devastating, sacred. And Amelia knew, with a certainty that resonated deep in her bones, that nothing in her world would ever be the same. For a long, trembling moment, Admiral Amelia Whitford could only stare at the envelope in Liam's hand. The edges were worn, the paper softened by time and the oils of someone who had held it far too often. Sarah's handwriting, her unmistakable looping S, her gentle slant, stared back at Amelia like a ghost she wasn't prepared to confront. Her fingers twitched, but she didn't reach for it. Not yet. Not until she could breathe without feeling her ribs splinter. Why didn't she send it? Amelia whispered, her voice sounding foreign to her own ears. Liam's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. She meant to. She carried it with her during her last weeks. Lucas told me she wrote it after discovering she was pregnant, but she never found the courage to mail it. The wind moved again, slow and chilly, rustling the leaves around them as if the earth itself exhaled a sigh. I've read it, Liam admitted quietly. More times than I should have, trying to understand, trying to find the right moment to bring it to you. Amelia forced her hand forward, each inch feeling like raising a sunken ship from the depths of the sea. When her fingers finally brushed against the envelope, she felt the faintest tremor run up her arm. Her daughter had touched this, written this, carried this, and then died with its truth unspoken. She took the letter. Liam lowered his gaze. Lily stirred softly, sensing the tension in the air. Before you read it, Liam murmured, I need to tell you the rest. Amelia didn't want to hear more. Not yet. The grief pressing against her sternum demanded silence. But she had worn a uniform long enough to know that truth, no matter how painful, must be faced directly. "Go on," she said, her voice quiet but steady. Liam shifted his stance, adjusting Lily carefully in his arms. His eyes reflected years of sorrow condensed into a single, agonizing moment. "Sarah never told you about Lucas because she was afraid you'd see him as unworthy." His words were careful, respectful. He wasn't an officer. He wasn't from a military family. He was a corporal who grew up in a foster home. But he was one of the kindest men I've ever known. Amelia's breath hitched. "Kindness has never been a requirement for my respect." Liam hesitated before answering. Maybe not, but Sarah believed it was. The statement landed like a physical blow. Amelia's stomach clenched. She looked away, toward the endless rows of tombstones stretching across the landscape. She had commanded fleets, but she had never commanded her daughter's heart. "Lucas loved her fiercely," Liam continued. "The quiet kind of love, the steady kind. He kept a picture of Sarah tucked inside his chest pocket during deployment. He talked about her during night watches. Every letter he wrote home was addressed to her, even though the mail restrictions meant that none of them ever reached her." A muscle in Amelia's jaw tightened as she tried to conjure the image of this young man she had never met, yet who had loved her daughter more openly than she ever had. "What happened to him?" she asked, though her voice already carried a premonition of dread. Liam's eyes darkened. Silent Reef wasn't supposed to be dangerous, just reconnaissance. But we walked into an ambush. Improvised traps, snipers hidden in the cliffs, chaos everywhere. His voice grew rough, the memory constricting around his throat. "Lucas was hit while pulling another soldier to safety. I held him as his life ebbed away." Lily whimpered briefly, and Liam rocked her gently, almost instinctively. "Before he died," Liam continued, his words quivering, "he pressed a small wooden box into my hands. Inside it was a ring he'd bought Sarah and a note with her name scribbled on it. He told me, begged me to find her, to tell her he loved her, to take care of their child if anything happened." Amelia's knees weakened. "So you went to her?" "I tried," Liam said, breathing deeply. "When we returned home, I found the address, but by the time I arrived, the neighbors said Sarah had collapsed the week before and never recovered." A sharp ache pierced Amelia's chest. She had been on deployment, then overseeing a training mission. She remembered receiving the call, remembered dropping her coffee, remembered the static in her ears. She had thought she understood grief then, but she hadn't. She hadn't known half of her daughter's story. "Sarah died alone," Amelia whispered, choking on the words. "No," Liam corrected softly, "she didn't. The paramedics said she kept asking someone to promise they'd find Lucas. She passed out before she could finish her sentence." The Admiral pressed a hand over her heart, feeling the weight of each confession stack inside her like stones. "And Lily?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Sarah gave birth early, stress, grief, overwork. The doctors weren't sure if either of them would make it. Lily spent weeks in the NICU. When social services couldn't find immediate next of kin, Lucas's note, naming Sarah and his unborn child, allowed them to contact me." His voice grew softer, more vulnerable. "I wasn't related. I had no legal right. But the promise I made him," Liam swallowed. "I took her home and I've cared for her ever since." Amelia's gaze swept over him, this man she had misjudged as a stranger kneeling where he didn't belong. "You're raising her?" she whispered. "As best as I can," Liam answered. "But she deserves family. Real family." Then he looked at her fully, deeply. His eyes held grief, exhaustion, longing, and something that looked painfully like hope. "I came today because Lily deserves to know where she came from, and because Sarah deserved more than silence. I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd want to know her child." Amelia lifted trembling fingers to her lips. She looked down at Lily once more. The baby's amber eyes sparkled softly, unburdened by the grief swirling around her. Her granddaughter, her daughter's last gift to the world. The weight of the letter in Amelia's hand suddenly grew unbearable. With a shaky breath, she unfolded the flap. Liam tensed, as if witnessing the opening of a sacred wound. Inside, written in Sarah's gentle, hopeful handwriting, were the first words, "Mom, if you're reading this, I pray you'll forgive me." Amelia's vision blurred instantly, her breath hitching in her throat. Her knees buckled, and for the first time in decades, Admiral Amelia Whitford, iron-willed, composed, unshakable, sank to the ground from the sheer force of a truth she had never seen coming. Silence surrounded them, but nothing felt silent inside her. Not anymore. The world around Amelia blurred the gravestones. The pale sky, even Liam's worried face dissolving into the soft, trembling edges of memory as she unfolded the letter. Her hand, so steady in every crisis she had ever commanded, shook like fragile leaves in a winter wind. Sarah's handwriting, her daughter's handwriting, alive again on this paper, though she was gone. Amelia inhaled once, deeply, bracing herself as she began to read. "Mom, if you're reading this, it means I still haven't found the courage to tell you in person. I'm pregnant." The words struck like a silent blow. Amelia's chest tightened, and her breath stuttered. She blinked hard, pushing through the blur. "I know this isn't what you imagined for me. I know you wanted me to finish school first, to build a stable career, to follow a path you could be proud of. But Mom, I'm happy. I'm terrified, but I'm happy." A cold wind swept across the cemetery, but Amelia barely felt it. Her entire being clung to every stroke of Sarah's pen. "His name is Lucas. You would like him, even though you'd pretend you didn't at first." A tear slipped down Amelia's cheek. She could almost hear her daughter's voice saying it, half teasing, half pleading. "He loves me the way I always hoped someone would. Not because of what I do or what I've achieved, but because of who I am, when I'm not trying so hard to be someone you'd admire." The words landed like a stone dropped into deep water, quiet, devastating, rippling outward. Amelia pressed a hand to her mouth. She had spent years perfecting strength, discipline, excellence. But somewhere along the way, she had forgotten tenderness, forgotten softness, forgotten how to let her daughter feel enough. She kept reading. "I want to tell you everything, Mom. I want to bring him to meet you. I want us to sit together like we used to, before the Navy took you away from the house more often than not." Her vision swam again, this time from a mixture of regret and longing. "But I'm scared. I'm scared you'll look at me the way you did the day I told you I didn't want to attend the academy, like I had disappointed you simply by being myself. I don't want to see that look again. Not now. Not with this baby coming." The pain tightened, sharp and punishing. Amelia clutched the letter closer to her chest, as if she could somehow rewind time by holding her daughter's words tight enough. "Still, I want you to know this. I love you, no matter how far apart we've grown. No matter how many arguments or years I tried making peace with the fact that I wasn't the daughter you envisioned." A soft cry escaped Amelia. It shocked even her. The Admiral who never broke, never folded, never faltered, felt herself unravel in a way no battlefield had ever undone her. "If something ever happens to me, please promise me you'll love this baby. She'll need you more than I ever let myself need you." That was it. That was the line that shattered her completely. Her hand flew to her heart again as her breath caught, breaking into splinters. She closed her eyes, letting the tears fall freely, dropping onto the aged paper like rain that had been held back for years. Liam took a quiet step closer, but didn't touch her. He simply waited, honoring her grief with the patience of a seasoned soldier. Amelia lowered the letter slowly, feeling as though each word had rewired her entire soul. The cemetery had grown painfully quiet, the kind of quiet that made every heartbeat feel like a thunderclap. "She wrote this alone," Amelia whispered, carrying all that fear, all that hope, and she never got to her. Liam nodded, the silence amplifying Amelia's unspoken anguish. Sarah had carried that secret, that unspoken plea for connection, until her final breath. "I believe she was waiting for the right moment to tell you," he offered gently. Amelia's proud composure crumbled. Tears carved paths down her face, etching lines of regret with every drop. "And I wasn't there," she choked out, the words laced with self-reproach. I wasn't there for her. The confession escaped her like shards of glass, each syllable sharp and painful. Liam shook his head, his expression a blend of empathy and gentle correction. You were serving, and Sarah understood that more than you know. No, Amelia whispered, clutching the letter like a lifeline. I served the Navy. I should have served my daughter. The weight of that truth settled between them, a palpable presence in the small room. Lily stirred, a tiny movement that drew Amelia's gaze. The child's fingers, miniature and delicate, had curled around a stray thread of Liam's uniform. Her mouth formed a soft O as she blinked awake, her eyes, Sarah's eyes, slowly opening. Amber, warm, achingly familiar. Time seemed to suspend itself, the world holding its breath. Amelia lowered herself to her knees, her starched uniform whispering against the cold floor. It wasn't planned, not elegant, not the posture one would expect from a decorated admiral. It was the raw, unfiltered posture of a mother who had lost too much, finally glimpsing what could have been. Liam knelt beside her, gently guiding Lily into Amelia's waiting arms. She looks like her, Amelia breathed, her voice thick with emotion. She does, Liam confirmed softly. Each day brought a tiny hand reaching out, wobbly and curious, brushing against Amelia's wrist. Amelia inhaled sharply, the sensation akin to forgiveness, a second chance contained in a touch so small it shattered her heart. She pressed her forehead gently against Lily's soft skin, her tears mingling with the baby's. Hi, she whispered, her voice trembling. I'm your grandmother. The word felt foreign on her tongue, terrifying yet undeniably beautiful. Liam watched them, his eyes glistening, a fragile hope flickering within. After a long, silent moment, Amelia straightened, drawing herself up not in retreat, but in resolve. She met Liam's gaze. Take me to her, she requested. Liam blinked, momentarily confused. To Sarah? No. Amelia shook her head slowly, wiping away the tears with the back of her sleeve. To where you and Lily live. I want to know everything about Sarah's life, about Lucas, about you, about how you've raised my granddaughter. Her voice wavered, but her determination was unwavering. Liam nodded, his expression gentle and understanding. Of course. Amelia stood, carefully folding Sarah's letter, treating it with the reverence of something sacred. She held it to her chest, inhaling deeply, as if hoping to catch a lingering trace of her daughter's scent. Then she looked at Lily, really looked, and felt something inside her shift. Not just grief, not just regret, but a faint spark of hope, a feeling she had almost forgotten she was capable of. The drive from Arlington to Liam's modest apartment should have taken 20 minutes. Amelia stretched it to nearly 40, slowing at every intersection, gripping the steering wheel as though the road itself might crumble beneath her. She wasn't trying to avoid the destination. She wanted to absorb the surroundings, to meet Lily's world on her own terms. What she truly feared was facing herself. Each mile carried her deeper into a truth she had spent years denying. She had been an extraordinary admiral and a painfully ordinary mother. When they finally arrived, Liam held the car door open for her. Lily nestled securely against his shoulder. The building was a small, brick structure, its facade faded with age, but the windowsills were adorned with flower pots, carefully tended. It lacked wealth, but radiated warmth. The interior of the apartment surprised her. It wasn't the cramped, cluttered bachelor pad she might have expected. The living room was small but meticulously tidy, a soft cream blanket draped over the sofa, a rocking chair positioned invitingly by the window. A shelf was filled with baby formula, pacifiers, and neatly labeled containers. Simple, precious photographs were pinned to a corkboard. Lily wrapped in a hospital blanket, Liam feeding her with trembling hands, Lily asleep on his chest, a blurry selfie of Liam, his smile nervous, Lily's cheek pressed against his shoulder. The tenderness of the scene struck her with unexpected force. This is her home? Amelia asked quietly. For now? Liam nodded, shifting Lily to his other arm. The Admiral walked deeper into the apartment, her fingers lightly brushing the back of the rocking chair, as if testing the reality of this place, this life that had unfolded without her knowing. Her eyes settled on a small wooden box on a side table. She recognized the craftsmanship instantly. Military issue, a keepsake from a deployment to Afghanistan. She could tell by the burnished edges, the polish worn smooth by the touch of someone sentimental. That was Lucas's, Liam said softly. The one he gave me before he passed. Amelia stared at it, so small yet carrying the weight of 2 lifetimes, Lucas's and Sarah's. She sat down slowly, the letter still tucked in her pocket, its presence like a second heartbeat. Liam settled across from her, Lily awake, her wide, curious eyes taking in the unfamiliar surroundings. For a long moment, none of them spoke. But silence had never frightened Amelia. What frightened her was what she finally had to confront. She looked down at her hands that had signed deployment orders, commanded fleets, held medals, but had not held her daughter's hand often enough. Liam, she began softly, I need you to tell me something, and I want the truth, even if it hurts. Liam nodded, bracing himself. What kind of mother did Sarah think I was? Liam froze, surprised. Whatever he had expected her to ask, it wasn't that. I'm not asking for comfort, Amelia continued. I'm asking for clarity. Liam inhaled deeply. Sarah admired you deeply. She told Lucas once that you were the strongest woman she'd ever known. The word surprised her, warmed her for a brief moment, but the warmth faded quickly. She also felt unseen, Liam added quietly. Amelia closed her eyes, a wave of pain washing over her like a cold current. She said she learned to be strong because she had to be, Liam continued. That you loved the Navy with a certainty she wasn't sure she could ever match. A hollow laugh escaped Amelia's lips, soft, almost silent. She wasn't wrong. But she didn't blame you, Liam said quickly. She blamed the world you came from, the world that shaped you. Amelia shook her head. I shaped me. I made the choices. Maybe, Liam conceded. But Sarah never thought you didn't love her. She thought you didn't know how to love her. The distinction broke something inside Amelia, because it was true. She had loved her daughter, fiercely but imperfectly, rigidly, with expectations instead of understanding. She kept trying, Liam said. She kept reaching out, even when she thought you wouldn't approve of Lucas. Even when she found out she was pregnant. Amelia covered her face with both hands, swallowing a sob she didn't want Liam to hear, but he heard it anyway. It wasn't that she feared you, Liam said gently. She feared disappointing you. It was the same wound Sarah had described in her letter, only now spoken aloud by the man who had witnessed Sarah's final months. Amelia lowered her hands, her eyes red yet focused. I was a good admiral, she whispered. But I wasn't a good mother. You were a mother who did her best with what she knew, Liam said softly. But Amelia shook her head. No. I prioritized duty over birthdays, medals over dance recitals, discipline over tenderness. I kept telling myself Sarah would understand someday, that she would be proud of the sacrifices. Her voice fractured. But in reality, I taught her that my love had conditions, and she lived her life afraid she'd fail them. The admission poured from her like a confession she should have made years earlier. Liam didn't interrupt. He didn't offer false comfort. He simply let her speak, something no one had ever done for her in this context. Amelia looked at Lily again. The baby's tiny fingers were reaching upward, completely trusting of the world around her. She thought of Sarah giving birth alone, of Lucas dying with a promise trembling on his lips, of Lily beginning her life without any of the people who were supposed to love her, bonded and ready. And she thought of herself, unyielding, distant, untouchable, believing she had control over everything. She inhaled shakily. I don't want to fail Lily the way I failed Sarah. Liam's expression softened, surprised, moved, and something else she couldn't quite place. You won't, he said. Not if you love her the way you wish you'd loved Sarah. Silence settled gently between them. Amelia reached out her hand tentatively. May I hold her? Liam blinked, startled. Of course. He shifted Lily into Amelia's arms with the care of a soldier passing something sacred. Amelia stiffened at first, and used to the delicate weight, the small warmth. But then Lily looked up, her amber eyes, Sarah's eyes, and Amelia's arms softened instantly. She held her granddaughter, her breath trembling, her face inches from the little girl's. "Hello, Lily," she whispered. "I'm here now." Lily gurgled in response, the sound soft, almost musical. Tears welled again, but this time they weren't only grief. They were a beginning. Liam watched, a quiet witness to the moment that would change both their lives. In that small apartment, surrounded by echoes of the daughter she had lost and the child she had found, Admiral Amelia Whitford realized something profound. She had almost lost everything. But maybe, just maybe, she was being given a second chance. And this time she would not waste it. Amelia stayed in the rocking chair long after Lily drifted to sleep in her arms. The child's small breaths rose and fell steadily against her chest, warm and soft. An anchor holding her in a moment she never imagined she would experience. A moment she wasn't sure she deserved. Liam watched quietly from the kitchen doorway. His arms crossed loosely, as though unsure whether to interrupt or let the scene play out like a fragile miracle. "You're good with her," he said softly. Amelia huffed a broken laugh. "I've been holding her for 20 minutes. That hardly counts as good." Liam stepped forward, sitting across from her. "It counts more than you think. Babies know when someone is tense or unsure. She's peaceful with you. Peaceful." Amelia looked down at Lily's sleeping face and felt that same unfamiliar warmth twist inside her. "I didn't know Sarah was pregnant," Amelia murmured. "I didn't know she loved someone. I didn't know she was scared. I didn't know anything." Liam lowered his gaze. "You know now." The Admiral exhaled slowly, letting her thoughts settle. "Tell me about you," she said. "Everything. Lucas, the deployment, Silent Reef. What happened after?" Liam shifted in his seat, not out of discomfort, but out of preparation, as though he had waited months for someone to ask, and yet had hoped no one ever would. "It's not an easy story," he warned. "Most stories worth telling aren't," Amelia replied. Liam nodded. "I enlisted at 18, he began. Joined the Marines because it was the only thing that made sense. The structure, the discipline, the brotherhood. I didn't have a family waiting for me at home, so the Corps became one." Amelia noted the tone, the subtle ache tucked between the words. "Lucas joined our unit 2 years later. He was young, brighter than he gave himself credit for, quick on his feet, loyal to a fault. He annoyed me sometimes, but he was good." His eyes drifted to the wooden box on the side table. "He talked about Sarah from the moment he met her," Liam said. "Said she was the first person who ever made him feel like he wasn't just another name on a roster." Amelia felt a sharp pang of recognition. Sarah had always been drawn to lonely hearts, always believed she could heal what others overlooked. "Silent Reef changed everything," Liam continued. "It was supposed to be simple reconnaissance, but someone higher up underestimated the terrain. The intel didn't match the reality. Command kept pushing us forward, even when the signs were wrong." Amelia stiffened. A failure in military intelligence unaddressed was no small accusation. "We were ambushed," Liam said. "Traps, snipers, explosives, everything. Lucas was hit trying to pull a private out of a kill zone. I dragged them both behind cover, but Lucas," he swallowed hard. "Lucas didn't make it." The apartment felt smaller, suddenly heavy with the ghosts of decisions made far from the battlefield. "He pressed the box into my hand," Liam whispered. "Told me to find Sarah. Told me to take care of their baby, if she needed anything. And then he was gone." Amelia closed her eyes briefly, honoring the sacrifice. "After the mission," Liam continued, "I asked to leave the Marines. They offered counseling, reassignment, promotion, even a mandatory leave. But I couldn't stay. Not after losing him. Not with the guilt." "You weren't responsible," Amelia said quietly but firmly. "Maybe not directly," Liam admitted. "But I was the one in charge of our fire team. I gave the order to move forward. I trusted intel that was wrong." His voice grew softer. So I left. Tried construction for a while, security work. Nothing felt right. Now I do cleaning, maintenance. Simple, honest. You don't lose anyone on the job. There's no chain of command, no decisions that cost lives. It was then Amelia understood something important. Liam hadn't chosen janitorial work because of failure. He had chosen it because it didn't demand more blood. And Lily? Amelia asked gently. When social services couldn't locate Sarah's mother right away, they found Lucas's emergency contact note with my name on it, Liam explained. They asked if I could take temporary custody. I said yes. He looked at Lily with a quiet tenderness that caught Amelia off guard. I had nothing prepared. No crib, no diapers, no idea how to hold a newborn. I watched videos at 2 a.m. on how to swaddle a baby. I burned formula twice. He smiled at the memory, small, self-conscious, sincere. But I learned. And you stayed, Amelia said. I made a promise, Liam replied simply. And Lily, she saved me too. Something inside Amelia softened even further. You could have given her up, Amelia said. Or let the state handle her placement. But you didn't. Liam shrugged lightly, but his eyes betrayed emotion. Lily didn't ask to lose both her parents before she even took her first breath. And she sure didn't ask for a broken ex-Marine with more nightmares than sleep to take her home. But she still looked at me like I was the safest place on earth. His voice weakened. I couldn't walk away from that. The room fell quiet again. But this time the silence wasn't sharp. It was understanding, two lives, both marked by sacrifice, finally seeing each other clearly. After a moment, Amelia spoke softly. I misjudged you. Liam looked up, surprised. You're not just a janitor, she said. You're the man who kept my granddaughter alive, who loved her when she had no one else, who honored a soldier's dying wish. That's not small, Liam. That's extraordinary. Liam's eyes flickered with something unfamiliar, gratitude, maybe relief. And you, Liam said carefully, are not just an admiral. You're a mother who lost her daughter and a grandmother who showed up the moment she learned the truth. Amelia felt something small and bright ignite within her chest. Not joy. Too soon for that. Not healing, still too far away, but a beginning. Lily stirred again, her tiny hand brushing Amelia's collar. The child made a soft, contented sigh. She likes you, Liam murmured. Amelia smiled, a real one this time, though faint. I think I like her too. Liam chuckled quietly. Good. She could use another person in her corner. Amelia looked at him meaningfully. So could you. Their eyes met, steady, honest, unguarded, two broken souls bound by a child neither had expected. Sitting in the soft glow of a living room that felt more like truth than anything Amelia had known in years. For the first time since she buried Sarah, she didn't feel alone. Morning light filtered into Liam's apartment in soft, golden streaks, warming the hardwood floor and casting faint halos around the edges of the furniture. It was a gentle kind of sunrise, one Amelia Whitford had rarely witnessed. Most of her mornings, for decades, had begun under fluorescent lights in command centers or aboard ships, where dawn was simply another timestamp in a demanding schedule. But this morning was different. This morning, she woke to the sound of a baby's soft cooing echoing from the small nursery, Lily, her granddaughter. For a long moment, Amelia simply sat at the edge of the living room sofa, still dressed in the same uniform from the day before, processing the fragile enormity of that reality. Liam emerged from the hallway, hair tousled, t-shirt wrinkled, looking more like a man who had fought a war with sleep and lost. He blinked when he saw her sitting upright. You're awake, he said, his voice still raspy. I'm a light sleeper, Amelia replied. Years of training. He huffed a tiny laugh. I've had the opposite training. Lily's been helping me improve. A tiny wail rose from the nursery. Liam winced. Speaking of which, Amelia stood. Let me try. You sure? Liam asked. No, she admitted truthfully. But I need to learn. Liam stepped aside, letting her pass. When Amelia entered the nursery, she froze, not from fear, but from awe. The room wasn't elaborate, but it was lovingly put together. a gently worn crib, hand-me-down baby toys neatly arranged in a small basket, a mobile with faded stars hanging above the crib, a rocking chair with a blanket tucked into the corner. And in the crib, tiny fists waving, face scrunched in protest of morning hunger, was Lily, her granddaughter. Amelia approached slowly, like one might approach a wild, delicate creature. She reached for the baby, her hands slightly unsteady. "Support her neck," Liam coached gently from the doorway. Amelia adjusted her posture, then lifted Lily up, cradling her awkwardly but carefully. Lily blinked at her, confusion dissolving into calm recognition, as if she knew the stranger should never have been a stranger. "Hello, little one?" Amelia whispered the words, feeling both foreign and sacred. The crying stopped almost instantly. Liam stared. "She never does that for me." Amelia managed a soft smile. Maybe she just needed a new commanding officer. Liam chuckled. "I think she outranks both of us." Amelia looked down at Lily, who gurgled happily in agreement. For the next hour, Amelia attempted the simplest tasks she had never done for Sarah. Not even once. Attempt number 1. Mixing formula. Liam handed her the bottle and instructions. She frowned. "This looks like assembling a field radio." Liam laughed. Much higher stakes. Her hands shook more than they ever had on the bridge of a ship. She spilled powder on the counter, added too much water, then too little, muttering Navy-grade curses under her breath. Liam gently took the bottle. "Here, like this." She memorized every movement, determined to get it right. Attempt number 2. Feeding. Lily stared at her like she was assessing the situation with great suspicion. Amelia raised an eyebrow. "You're judging me." Liam snorted. "She judges everyone." When Amelia finally positioned the bottle correctly, Lily latched on and began drinking eagerly. Amelia felt something crack open inside her. A memory, blurry and bittersweet, surfaced. Sarah at 6 months old, Amelia in uniform rushing through the living room with a briefcase, a nanny feeding her daughter while she left for another deployment. She swallowed hard and refocused on the baby in her arms. "I won't leave this time," she whispered. Liam heard, but pretended not to. Attempt number 3. Putting Lily to sleep. Amelia rocked her gently, humming an old tune she hadn't realized she remembered. A lullaby Sarah's grandmother used to sing. Her voice wobbled, deepened, softened. Liam watched from the door, leaning against the frame. He had never seen the Admiral like this, unarmored, vulnerable human. "You're good at that," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "I'm just trying. That's all anyone can do." When Lily drifted to sleep, Amelia placed her carefully into the crib. For a moment, she couldn't move her hand away. She kept it there, hovering above the baby's chest, reassuring herself that Lily was real. When she finally stepped back, her eyes shimmered. Liam offered her a seat in the living room. "Coffee?" She nodded. "Please." While he brewed, Amelia walked through the small apartment, absorbing the details she had missed the night before. There was so much she hadn't known. But what struck her was how deeply Liam had stepped into a role he had never prepared for. He brought her a mug of coffee. She held it but didn't drink. "Liam," she said, "you've done more for Lily than I could ever repay." "You don't owe me anything," he replied softly. "I do," she insisted, "because you didn't just keep her alive. You gave her love, stability, safety, things I failed to give Sarah." Liam looked at her, his eyes full of understanding, but also something unspoken, something warm. "She needed you," Amelia whispered, her voice breaking. "And you were there." Liam sat across from her. "I promised Lucas I'd take care of her, but I didn't realize how much I needed her, too. Lily gave me a reason to wake up, a reason to stay, a reason to start over." Their eyes met, a quiet exchange heavy with truth. Amelia set down her mug, her hands trembling slightly. "I want to be part of her life," she said. "Not out of guilt, out of love. Real love." "You should be," Liam replied. "I want to help raise her," she continued softly. "If you'll let me." Liam froze, his breath caught in his throat. He had expected reluctance, hesitation, maybe even resentment. But not this. Liam, she said gently. You don't have to do this alone anymore. Liam's eyes softened, not with pity, but with relief. Then something broken and lonely inside him, something he'd buried beneath exhaustion and fear, finally exhaled. You're not alone either, Amelia. The honesty of it struck her deeper than she expected. She looked down at her hands, remembering all the years she had filled with medals instead of moments. Then she looked back at him. I want to learn, she whispered. Teach me to be her grandmother. Liam nodded slowly. I will. The morning sun rose higher, casting warm light across the apartment, onto the crib, onto Liam, onto Amelia, onto a fragile new beginning formed from loss, forgiveness, and quiet courage. In the deep stillness of that room, Amelia felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She belonged. The following week unfolded with a rhythm Amelia had never known, quiet mornings filled with Lily's soft babbling, afternoons spent learning the subtle art of grandparenting, and evenings where she and Liam talked in low, thoughtful tones about Sarah, Lucas, and the strange way fate had drawn them together. But as the days passed, something else began to stir beneath the surface. Something Amelia had long been trained to sense, an old instinct sharpening like a blade. Trouble. It began with a knock on Liam's door one morning. A uniformed petty officer stood outside with a clipped salute. Admiral Whitford, ma'am. Headquarters requests a meeting at your earliest convenience. Amelia stiffened. She hadn't filed a return-to-duty notice. She hadn't informed command she was in a civilian residential area. She hadn't been near naval operations in weeks. Liam watched from behind her, arms crossed, his jaw tense. I'm on leave, Amelia answered. Yes, ma'am, the petty officer said carefully. They're aware. They still request your presence. Which meant one thing. This wasn't a request. When the officer left, Liam closed the door slowly. What was that about? He asked. Amelia exhaled, her expression turning controlled, professional. Unlike the Amelia he had come to know over the past few days, this Amelia was all business. It means someone noticed I'm not where I'm supposed to be. You're retired? Liam countered, his voice laced with concern. Retired or not, a 4-star's movements are always monitored. She paused, her gaze hardening. They want to know why I'm here. Liam's shoulders tensed, a knot forming between his shoulder blades. Because of me. Because of everything. Amelia's voice softened, laced with a hint of apology. At headquarters, Amelia entered a conference room she knew intimately. White walls, a polished table reflecting the harsh fluorescent lights, the faint, ever-present hum of classified systems humming behind secure doors. But this time, the power dynamic had shifted. She was not commanding the room. 3 officers awaited her arrival, their expressions carefully neutral. Rear Admiral Collins, Captain Ruiz, and Commander Holt. Their faces were measured and cautious, like men gingerly approaching a minefield. Admiral Whitford Collins began, his voice formal. Thank you for coming, Admiral. I was invited, she retorted, a sharp edge to her tone as she took her seat at the table. Collins cleared his throat, adjusting his tie. We've received reports that you've been visiting restricted civilian areas, including extended interactions with a former Marine, Liam Carter. Amelia's gaze turned icy, a warning glint in her eyes. He is caring for my granddaughter. Silence descended upon the room, thick and heavy. Ruiz exchanged a tense look with Collins, a silent conversation passing between them. Holt clicked a file open on his tablet, the screen illuminating his face with a cold, blue light. Ma'am, we pulled his record. Marine Sergeant Liam Carter. Honorable discharge following psychological trauma after Operation Silent Reef. Amelia stiffened imperceptibly, but maintained her composure. He left because he lost a soldier he was responsible for. It wasn't misconduct. Collins leaned forward, his expression grave. That's precisely the concern, Admiral. Silent Reef has inconsistencies. Files missing, reports overwritten, Command logs redacted by someone above field authority. Amelia's heartbeat quickened, a cold dread creeping into her veins. Redacted by whom? Collins hesitated, a flicker of discomfort crossing his face. Holt answered, his voice flat and professional. We believe Lucas Hale's death may not have been an accident. Amelia's eyes narrowed, her gaze intense. Explain. The officers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Ruiz spoke next, his voice carefully measured. 2 days ago, an archivist flagged an anomaly. Lucas Hale's file was accessed 3 times posthumously. Once by an unidentified login, once by Liam Carter, and once by someone using your old authorization code. The words hit her like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. My code, she repeated, the words barely a whisper. A clone of it? Holt clarified, his voice devoid of emotion. We believe someone used your identity to overwrite parts of the Silent Reef after-action reports. That was no small accusation. It meant someone inside the Navy, someone with access and authority, had used her name, her rank, to hide something. Something that involved Lucas Hale's death. And what? Amelia asked coldly, her voice dangerously low. Does any of this have to do with my granddaughter, Collins? Collins folded his hands on the table, his gaze unwavering. If Silent Reef was covered up, someone might not want Lucas's family, his child, connected to the truth. A chill slid through Amelia's core, a premonition of danger. Ruiz added, his voice urgent. If Carter is investigating privately, or unintentionally carrying evidence, it could place him and the child at risk. The implications seared through the room like a laser. Danger for Lily. Danger for Liam. Danger for anyone who knew the truth. Something deep inside Amelia awakened, the same force that had carried her through decades of command. Are you telling me, she said slowly, each word precise and deliberate, that the father of my granddaughter may have died in a cover-up? Collins swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbing. We're saying it's possible, and that someone may want the truth buried. Her fingers curled into fists, her knuckles white. She stood abruptly, the chair legs scraping sharply across the polished floor, the sound echoing in the tense silence. Open every file, she commanded, her voice ringing with authority. Every log, every order, every report from Silent Reef. I want access to the unredacted archive. Effective immediately. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Admiral Collins said gently, his voice laced with caution. You don't hold active clearance anymore, Admiral. Her voice lowered into something colder, harder, and undeniably authoritative. Then reinstate it. They hesitated, but only for a heartbeat. Because when Amelia Whitford spoke like that, people listened. That evening, she returned to Liam's apartment, her expression tight, her steps controlled. Liam saw it the moment she entered the storm brewing behind her eyes. What happened? He asked, his voice filled with concern. She didn't speak at first. She walked to the living room window where Lily slept peacefully in her crib, bathed in the soft light of the setting sun. After a long moment, Amelia whispered, Lucas may not have died the way you think he did. Liam froze, his blood turning to ice. Amelia turned to face him fully, her eyes filled with a mixture of determination and regret. Command believes someone altered the Silent Reef reports. Someone used my identity to bury something. Liam's jaw tensed, the muscles clenching hard enough to tremble. Why would they do that? To protect themselves? Amelia answered, her voice grim. Or to keep something from being exposed. Something big enough that they didn't want anyone tracing it back. Liam's fists clenched at his sides. And Lily? He asked quietly, his voice laced with fear. Amelia's voice softened, not weakly, but with fierce resolve. I won't let anything happen to her. Or to you. Liam's eyes met hers, the depths reflecting a mixture of fear and gratitude. What do we do now? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Amelia stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. We uncover the truth, she said, her voice filled with conviction. Together, for the first time in years, Amelia Whitford felt the familiar fire of command ignite within her. Not for a mission given by the Navy, but for a mission given by fate. Not to save a fleet, but to save a family. The days that followed carried a quiet intensity neither Amelia nor Liam had anticipated. Their conversations shifted from careful politeness to honest vulnerability. Their shared mission to uncover what truly happened in Operation Silent Reef wove them together in ways neither fully understood. But it wasn't only the investigation that pulled them close. It was Lily, and the grief they shared, and the healing they both desperately needed. On the 5th night after Amelia's meeting with headquarters, Liam sat at his small kitchen table, sorting through old deployment notes. Pages were spread everywhere, handwritten logs, fragments of Lucas's letters, maps Liam had reconstructed from memory, piecing together the puzzle of that fateful operation. Amelia leaned over the table, too, her glasses perched low on her nose as she analyzed the papers like they were classified briefings, her sharp mind dissecting every detail. Lily slept soundly on the sofa, wrapped in a soft yellow blanket, a picture of innocent serenity amidst the chaos of their investigation. Lucas wrote this during the 2nd week, Liam said, tapping a worn notebook page with his finger. He said command changed the route last minute. None of us knew why. It didn't match terrain analysis. Amelia nodded slowly. And they redacted that from the official records. Liam's jaw tightened, his eyes hardening with anger. Which means Lucas died following an order that never should have been given. A heaviness settled over the table, a palpable weight of guilt and regret. After a moment, Amelia removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose wearily. Liam, what you've been carrying alone is too much for one man. He looked at her, the exhaustion behind his eyes plain. Some burdens don't feel like a choice. Maybe, Amelia replied softly, her voice laced with empathy, because no one ever offered to carry them with you. He blinked, startled by the unexpected gentleness in her tone. Then he said quietly, until now. Their eyes held, a silent connection forming between them. The room seemed to still, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Only the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the space, a quiet counterpoint to the turmoil within them. Amelia looked away first, clearing her throat self-consciously. We should take a break. You haven't eaten. Liam smiled faintly, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Neither have you. She raised an eyebrow, a playful challenge in her gaze. Are you implying I don't take care of myself? He chuckled softly. I'm implying neither of us does. Amelia stood, smoothing her shirt, a faint blush rising on her cheeks. Then we'll fix that together. She began making tea, her movements precise, but softer than before, the sharp edges of the Admiral softening with each gesture. Liam watched her, amazed at how naturally she had settled into his home, into Lily's life, into the parts of his world he never expected to open again. When she handed him a cup, their fingers brushed, just lightly, barely a second, but enough to send a jolt of electricity through him. Liam exhaled shakily, trying to regain his composure. Amelia pretended not to notice, though a faint warmth crept up her neck. He leaned back in his chair, cradling the warm mug in his hands. You know, Lucas used to say something about Sarah. What was that? Amelia asked, sipping her tea, her voice carefully neutral. That she carried light, even in the worst moments. He said she made him feel like the world wasn't so heavy. Amelia swallowed hard, the ache of regret returning, sharp and familiar. I didn't know that version of her. You knew a different version, Liam said gently, his eyes filled with understanding. A daughter trying to earn your pride. The ache returned, soft, raw, and permanent. But the way you talk about her now, he continued, that's love too, even if it took time to understand. Amelia met his eyes, her gaze filled with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. And you? What do you carry from her? Liam considered her courage, her stubbornness, her unwavering hope. Lily has that too. They both glanced toward the sofa where Lily slept peacefully, her face angelic in the soft light. She deserves all of it, Amelia whispered, her voice thick with emotion. And she will have it, Liam replied, his voice firm. From both of us. The statement hung in the air, Not romantic, but deeply intimate. A promise neither had made aloud until now. Later that evening, after hours of piecing together fragmented memories and hidden truths, Lily stirred and let out a tiny cry. Liam started to rise, but Amelia was already there, her movements swift and sure. "I've got her," she said softly, her voice filled with tenderness. She lifted the baby into her arms with a confidence she hadn't possessed days ago, her hands cradling Lily's small body with surprising gentleness. Liam watched her sway gently, humming that same lullaby she had sung before. The sight of Amelia Whitford, the feared and respected Admiral, holding a child with such tenderness, brought something tight and warm to his chest, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years. She sat on the sofa, cradling Lily close, and the baby settled instantly, her tiny body relaxing in Amelia's arms. "See," Amelia murmured, her voice soft and soothing. "No need to worry. You're incredible with her," Liam said quietly, his voice filled with admiration. Amelia looked at him over Lily's head, her eyes meeting his gaze. "No, I'm learning. Because I have to. Because I want to." "Amelia?" Liam began, his voice softening, his heart opening in a way he hadn't thought possible. She looked up, meeting his eyes, really meeting them, seeing the vulnerability beneath the surface. There was something in his expression, something unguarded, something he had been trying to bury beneath grief and duty and years of silence. He sat beside her, his shoulder just inches from hers, the warmth of his presence radiating through her. "You've changed my life," he said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "Since the moment you stepped into the cemetery." Amelia felt her breath catch in her throat. "Liam, no. Let me finish," he pleaded, his eyes searching hers. She nodded, unable to speak. "I was lost before Lily," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "And after Lucas, I didn't think I deserved anything good again. I didn't think I had the right. But you," he hesitated, searching for the right words. "You brought something back, something I thought was gone for good." "What's that?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. "Hope," he whispered, his eyes filled with a depth of emotion that took her breath away. Her heart tightened, a wave of tenderness washing over her. Slowly, she reached out and placed her hand on his, the gesture small but earth-shattering, a silent acknowledgement of the connection that had formed between them. "I wasn't looking for hope," Amelia said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I wasn't looking for anything. But I found you and Lily and the truth I should have known years ago." Liam's eyes softened, warm, deep, sincere. They sat like that, hands touching, breath steady, Lily safe between them, as if the past had carved them into two pieces that suddenly fit together perfectly. After a long, fragile moment, Amelia whispered, "Two broken hearts don't always mend together, but sometimes they're the only pieces that match." Liam swallowed hard, unable to speak, his heart overflowing with emotion. And when Lily let out a tiny sigh in her sleep, Amelia leaned her head against his shoulder, a gesture small, hesitant, but certain. Liam closed his eyes, savoring the moment, the warmth of her presence a balm to his wounded soul. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't a confession. But it was the beginning of all three. Born not from romance, not from desire, but from loss, the kind that binds souls more tightly than love ever could. And neither of them pulled away. The autumn sun filtered through Liam's apartment windows in a soft amber glow, touching everything with a warmth that felt almost miraculous. A few weeks had passed since Amelia and Liam began digging into the Silent Reef truth. The investigation was still ongoing, dangerous, tangled, and daunting. But something within their daily lives had begun to change. Not suddenly, but quietly, like morning light inching across a dim room until everything becomes clear. Lily giggled from her playmat, her small hands patting the colorful shapes with uncoordinated delight. Amelia sat beside her, guiding her fingers toward the soft fabric butterfly stitched into the corner. "That's right, sweetheart," Amelia murmured, her voice filled with affection. Butterfly just like the ones your mother loved. Liam leaned against the doorframe, watching the scene unfold with an expression he couldn't fully hide, part admiration, part disbelief, part something deeper he didn't yet know how to explain. "You keep this up," he said softly, his voice laced with amusement. "Lily's going to start thinking you're the fun one." Amelia shot him a mock glare, a playful glint in her eyes. "I am the fun one." He raised a brow, a teasing smile playing on his lips. "Admiral Whitford, known across the Pacific Fleet for being terrifyingly strict, is the fun one?" "Lily seems to think so," she countered proudly, her voice filled with warmth. Lily babbled in agreement, making both adults laugh, the sound filling the small apartment with joy. It was a rare sound, a sound Liam hadn't heard in his apartment long before Amelia entered their lives. Laughter soft and healing. That afternoon, Amelia brewed tea while Liam chopped vegetables for dinner. It had become a comfortable ritual, one cooking, the other preparing drinks, Lily offering commentary in baby squeals from her high chair. The simple domesticity was something Amelia had never allowed herself to experience, her life consumed by duty and ambition. But here, with Liam and Lily, it felt right, a sense of belonging she had never known before. "Amelia?" Liam said without looking up from the cutting board, his voice hesitant. "Yes? You've been coming here every day. Don't you have things you want to do? People expecting you?" Amelia paused mid-stir, her hand freezing in place. "I resigned." Liam froze, his knife clattering against the cutting board. "What?" She set the spoon down and leaned against the counter, her gaze unwavering. "I filed my retirement papers 2 days ago. It's official." He stared at her, stunned. "You stepped away from a 40-year career. Just like that?" "Not just like that," she said softly, her eyes filled with emotion. "I stepped away because it was time, and because being an admiral didn't make me happy anymore. Not the way this does." "This?" he repeated slowly, his voice laced with disbelief. "Being here," she said, gesturing around the apartment, her eyes shining with sincerity. "With Lily, with you, with a life I didn't even know I needed." Liam swallowed hard, his heart overflowing with gratitude. "Are you sure?" She nodded, her gaze unwavering. "Absolutely." A long silence followed, deep, meaningful, emotional. Then Liam whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Sarah would have wanted that." Amelia's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "I hope so." He stepped closer still, keeping a respectful distance, but close enough that she could feel the gravity between them, the pull of their shared connection. "Amelia," he said gently, his voice filled with sincerity. "You didn't fail her." Her lips trembled, the weight of her past mistakes pressing down on her. "I didn't show up." "You're showing up now," he said, his voice firm but gentle. "For her child, for yourself, for both of us." The sincerity in his voice nearly undid her, the dam of emotions threatening to break. Later that evening, after Lily fell asleep, Amelia and Liam sat on the small balcony outside his apartment. Leaves drifted down from nearby trees, painting the air with soft rustling sounds. The night was cool, but peaceful, the sky a canvas of stars. "You know," Liam began, his voice soft, "when Lucas died, I thought my life ended with him. I didn't think I had room to care for anyone else. And then Lily arrived. And then you—" Amelia's breath stilled, her heart pounding in her chest. He continued quietly, his voice filled with vulnerability. "I didn't expect to feel anything again. Not like this." She turned toward him, her gaze searching his face. The moonlight cast soft shadows on his face, making him look tired and strong, battered and gentle all at once. "I didn't expect this either," she whispered, her voice barely audible. They sat together in silence, the closeness between them charged, but unhurried. They weren't rushing toward anything. They were simply letting themselves exist side by side, hearts slowly thawing, wounds slowly healing. "Liam," she said softly, breaking the silence. "You've carried so much alone, more than anyone should, but you don't have to anymore." He looked at her, his eyes full of gratitude and something deeper, something that resonated with her own soul. "And neither do you. For a moment, time didn't move. Only their breaths did, mingling in the cool night air. Then, unexpectedly, Amelia reached for his hand, her fingers trembling slightly. He stiffened for a second, surprised, but then gently curled his fingers around hers, his grip firm and reassuring. It wasn't romantic in the conventional sense. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It was something more powerful, a promise, a silent vow that neither of them would walk alone again. Over the next few days, things shifted even further, their lives intertwining in unexpected ways. Amelia began house hunting, her retirement now official, a new chapter unfolding before her. But instead of looking for a solitary condo on a quiet street, like she once imagined, she found herself searching for something close to Liam and Lily, a place where she could be a constant presence in their lives. Walking distance only, she told the realtor, her voice firm. The closer, the better. Liam pretended not to overhear, but the soft smile on his face gave him away, a silent acknowledgement of the growing connection between them. On Thursday, Amelia arrived with a brand new stroller, a top-of-the-line model with all the bells and whistles. On Friday, she fixed the loose hinge on Liam's kitchen cabinet with military precision, her movements efficient and precise. On Saturday, she brought over a crib she assembled herself, though not without a few choice curses under her breath, a testament to her stubborn determination. "You really don't have to do all this?" Liam said, watching her tighten the screws, his voice filled with gratitude. "Yes," she said firmly, her gaze unwavering. "I do. Not because of guilt, not because of obligation, but because—" She hesitated, searching for the right words. "Because I care deeply." Lily began crawling that weekend, her small body inching forward with surprising speed. Amelia cried harder than Liam did, tears of joy streaming down her face. "That's my granddaughter," she whispered proudly, lifting Lily with trembling hands, her heart overflowing with love. Liam stood behind her, his voice warm and gentle. "She loves you, Amelia." Amelia leaned into him slightly, not even realizing she'd done so, finding comfort in his presence. "I love her, too." He placed a gentle hand on her back, steady and reassuring, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared. "We're building something, Amelia." "I know," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "And I'm in," he said simply, his voice filled with conviction. She looked up at him, her eyes meeting his gaze, really seeing him. This man who had stepped into tragedy and carved out a life from it. A man who had loved her daughter's child with a devotion she couldn't fathom. A man who had become her anchor without either of them noticing. She reached for his hand again, her fingers interlacing with his in a gesture that felt both natural and inevitable. "Sarah would want us to step forward," he said softly, repeating the words that had lingered between them for days, a shared understanding that guided their every action. This time Amelia didn't hesitate. She let her tears fall freely, one hand clutching his, her heart overflowing with love and gratitude. "I know," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "And we will." In the faint glow of the living room lamp, with Lily sleeping peacefully between them, Amelia realized something profound. She hadn't simply retired from the Navy. She had chosen a new mission, one built on love, forgiveness, and second chances. A mission she wasn't leading alone. 1 year later, Arlington National Cemetery lay under a soft spring breeze, the kind that made the leaves whisper and the air smell faintly of new beginnings. The sky was a gentle blue, streaked with white clouds drifting lazily overhead. The season had changed, and their lives had changed with it, blossoming with new hope and new beginnings. Amelia walked slowly along the familiar path, her steps steady, her posture relaxed in a way that once seemed impossible. She wore a simple navy blue coat instead of her uniform, the rigid lines softened by the gentle breeze. She no longer needed medals to define her, her worth measured not by rank or achievement, but by the love she gave and received. She no longer carried her grief like armor, but as a reminder of the past and a testament to the strength she had found in overcoming it. Beside her, Liam pushed Lily's stroller, his hand resting protectively on the handle. The little girl, now toddling, curious, and bursting with life, refused to stay seated, her adventurous spirit yearning for freedom. She clung to the edge of the stroller, trying to stand, letting out tiny squeals of excitement each time she saw a flower, her innocent joy a balm to their wounded souls. "Easy, bug," Liam murmured, his voice filled with affection. "You'll get your chance to run." Lily giggled, her small hand reaching out to Amelia, her tiny fingers grasping for connection. Amelia smiled and gently took her hand, her heart overflowing with love. "You're getting so big," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "Your mama would have adored you." They reached Sarah's grave, a place Amelia once associated only with pain and regret. But now, as she looked at the stone, she felt something different, something unexpected. Not just sorrow, not just guilt, but peace. She had not expected to ever feel peace again. Not in this place, not with the weight of everything she had lost. Yet here it was, blooming quietly in her chest like a new flower in spring, a testament to the healing power of love and forgiveness. The marble headstone gleamed in the sunlight, the inscription etched in elegant letters. Asterisk Sarah Whitford, beloved daughter, mother, and light of our lives. Liam stopped the stroller, his gaze filled with tenderness. "You want me to take Lily for a moment?" he offered, his voice filled with concern. Amelia shook her head, her grip tightening on Lily's hand. "No, I want her with us." She lifted Lily into her arms, cradling her close, the toddler squealing with delight, grabbing at Amelia's coat collar with chubby fingers. Amelia pressed a soft kiss to Lily's forehead, her heart overflowing with love, then knelt before the grave, her gaze unwavering. Liam knelt beside her, his presence a source of strength and comfort. Together, they formed a circle of love and remembrance, a testament to the enduring power of family. Lily, curious as always, reached out and touched the engraved letters on the stone, her tiny fingers tracing the shapes with innocent fascination, babbling softly as if trying to communicate with her mother. "She knows?" Liam whispered, his voice filled with emotion. "Maybe not what this place means, but she feels it. She feels the connection." Amelia's eyes filled with tears, her heart overflowing with love. "She feels Sarah," she said, her voice barely audible. "I think she always has." She placed a bouquet of white navel lilies at the foot of the grave, the same flower Sarah once braided into her hair, a symbol of their shared love and remembrance. Then she took a breath, steadying her voice as she spoke to her daughter, her words filled with love and regret. "Sarah, it's been a year of learning everything I never knew about you, a year of holding your baby, watching her grow, seeing pieces of you in every little thing she does." Her voice trembled, but she didn't look away from the stone, her gaze filled with love and sorrow. "I missed so much, too much, and I will never forgive myself for that." Liam placed a gentle hand on her back, not pulling, not urging, just there. A steadying presence, a source of strength and comfort. "But your daughter," Amelia whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "She saved me. You saved me, Sarah. Through her." "Through him?" She glanced at Liam, and he met her eyes with that warm, steady gaze she'd grown to rely on, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared. She continued, her voice soft but strong, filled with love and resolve. "I want you to know that I've changed. I'm trying every day to be the grandmother Lily deserves, the mother you deserved." Her throat tightened, the words catching in her throat. "And I promise you, I won't waste this second chance." Lily let out a happy squeal and reached toward the sky, her fingers stretching wide as if trying to catch the sunlight, her innocent joy a balm to their wounded souls. Amelia laughed softly through her tears, her heart overflowing with love. "She has your spirit?" she whispered, her voice filled with pride. "Wild and bright." Liam chuckled, his eyes filled with affection. "And your stubbornness." Amelia elbowed him gently, a playful smile gracing her lips, and his grin widened, his heart overflowing with love. The ease between them felt natural now, like they'd been building toward this place for years without knowing it, their souls intertwined by love and loss and the miracle of Lily's life. Amelia turned back to the grave, her hand resting lightly on the stone. A gesture of love and remembrance. We're a family now, Sarah. Not perfect, not traditional, but real, strong. Bound by love and loss and the miracle of your daughter. She paused, her voice filled with emotion, then added softly, "We're happy. Because of you." A breeze swept over them, cool and tender, carrying with it the scent of fresh grass and new beginnings. A gentle reminder of the enduring power of love and hope. Lily clapped her tiny hands as if applauding the moment, her innocent joy a balm to their wounded souls. Amelia smiled, her heart overflowing with love. "I think she approves." "She definitely approves," Liam said, his voice filled with conviction. They remained there in silence, letting the breeze wrap around them, letting the quiet speak what words could not. Their hearts connected by a bond that transcended time and space. After a long moment, Amelia rose, lifting Lily to her hip, her movements filled with love and tenderness. Liam stood beside them, his presence a source of strength and comfort. "You ready?" he asked, his voice soft and gentle, his eyes filled with love. "To go?" Amelia asked, her gaze searching his face. "To leave the past behind," Liam clarified, his voice filled with hope. Amelia looked once more at Sarah's stone, the place where grief had once anchored her, where guilt had kept her chained. But now it felt like something different, a beginning. Not an ending, a reminder. Not a prison, a promise. Not a wound. She took Liam's hand, her fingers lacing with his in a gesture that felt both natural and inevitable. A silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. "I'm ready," she said softly, her voice filled with hope and resolve. They turned to walk back down the path, Lily toddling between them, her tiny legs wobbling with each step. Liam held her hand on one side, Amelia held the other, their love forming a protective circle around her. Lily swayed with each step, her laughter ringing out like a bell, her innocent joy a balm to their wounded souls. People passing by smiled at the sight, a testament to the simple beauty of family. Strangers wouldn't know the battles they had fought, the secrets they had uncovered, the heartbreak they had overcome, the family they had rebuilt from the ashes of loss. But they knew, and that was enough. At the gate of the cemetery, Lily tripped on a tuft of grass, her small body stumbling forward. Amelia gasped and reached to steady her, her heart leaping into her throat. But Liam was already there, his reflexes honed by years of training, scooping the toddler up with practiced ease. "Gotcha," he whispered, pressing a kiss to her cheek, his voice filled with love and affection. The simple gesture warmed Amelia's chest, her heart overflowing with gratitude. She brushed a stray curl from Lily's forehead, her touch gentle and loving. "She's getting stronger," she said, her voice filled with pride. Liam smiled, his eyes filled with admiration. "So are we." Amelia met his gaze, her eyes soft, full, certain. "Liam," she said gently, her voice filled with love and gratitude. "Yes?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Thank you." "For what?" he asked, his eyes searching hers. "For keeping your promise, for giving Lily a home, for letting me become part of it." Liam stepped closer, his presence filling her world with warmth and light. "You didn't become part of it," he said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "You helped create it." Amelia felt something inside her melt, something old, something stubborn, something that had kept her heart walled off for far too long. She leaned in, her forehead touching his, Lily cradled safely between them, their love forming a protective shield. "I'm grateful for you," she whispered, her voice filled with love and gratitude. "And I'm grateful for you," he replied, his voice barely audible, his heart overflowing with emotion. Lily squealed happily as if sealing their bond, her innocent joy a balm to their wounded souls. Their hearts resonated with the sound of her small voice, a melody of innocence and burgeoning joy. Laughter rippled through them, a shared vibration that chased away the last vestiges of sorrow. Bathed in the sun's gentle warmth, Amelia felt a profound truth settle into the very marrow of her being. What had begun as a symbol of irreversible loss, a stark monument to what was gone, had miraculously blossomed into a source of unexpected abundance. The grave, once a cold reminder of her pain, had yielded the gift of a child to cherish, a partner to believe in, a second act she never dared to dream possible. A family, fractured and scattered, was being painstakingly reassembled, not from the flawless pieces of a forgotten past, but forged anew in the crucible of courage and unwavering love. As they strolled hand in hand into the radiant afternoon, Amelia carried with her a resolute promise. This time, she would not falter. She would not let them down. She would fiercely protect this fragile, precious thing they had rebuilt together. We are deeply eager to hear your thoughts. From what corner of the world are you joining us today? And what particular moment in Amelia's journey resonated most profoundly within your heart? Your insights and reflections are invaluable to us. If this narrative has offered you solace, kindled a spark of hope, or simply provided a moment of quiet reflection amidst the noise of the world, we warmly encourage you to subscribe to our channel. Here, you will consistently discover tender, heartfelt stories that celebrate compassion, the enduring strength of family, and the unassuming heroism that quietly unfolds all around us. Thank you, from the bottom of our hearts, for sharing a portion of your day with us. We cherish your presence more than words can express, and we eagerly anticipate welcoming you back for our next story.